All right, and we're live. So, welcome to the first FNA show. It's about 5M news and analysis. We're going to have several hosts, different developers for 5M, and server owners. And I guess let's kick it off. Why don't you guys say hi?
Hi, I'm Rusty.
There's Rusty. We got Default Danny over here, too.
Default Danny. I'm Default Danny.
So, what do you guys have any topics you want to start off with?
Yeah, don't break your server.
Don't break your
Capital
server.
capital letters are important.
Capital letters are important. Yes.
And lowercase e.
Yeah, don't delete an E off of a script folder.
So I guess that kind of gets us into a pretty good topic developers have been having trouble with, and that's new server owners or that don't really have any developing experience, right?
It's not even so much developing experience. It's how to read an error. It's we're getting guys that can't put together a simple replacement vehicle resource. That's nothing more than a blank resource Lua file and a model in a stream folder.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't figure that out. But dang it, they're going to run the next DOJ.
It's Yeah, I mean you see a lot of that even with some of the more basic scripts. You know, de- developers being somebody not naming the file correctly, like Rusty, or or
Whoa.
there was a lot of troubleshooting
But
into that.
but that's
You
that's a
know, it
that's a
wasn't so much
to be
naming it right. I had to delete the master or whatever he had before it, and I accidentally
Right.
went one extra letter. You know, put a hyphen in there. I only delete to the hyphen normally, but nope.
I would rather
Your
see
fault.
I would rather see that mistake than some of the other ones. Like there was a guy on a Discord today, couldn't figure out why his resource wasn't working, and it was, it still had the dash master on it, and then it also had the subfolder with the same name. You know how when you download from GitHub and you extract it, you've got the main folder and then your resource is actually in the next folder. Um, he didn't he didn't even bother looking. He just drag and dropped.
Right.
And then why don't it work? Well, because you're a moron. And
Well, and then yeah, I mean, read the config files. You know, there's most developers put a lot of information in there, tell you exactly what you need to change or not change, or stuff like that.
most reputable, and I'm going to say reputable developers will have instructions. They'll have when you're downloading from GitHub. Generally, they're going to have instructions on how to install their resource properly, and if they require any other resources to be installed at the same time, they're going to tell you. And you can tell when someone's not reading that because they can't understand why their thing isn't working. And when they show you a screenshot of their startup, the error they're getting in their startup, it will literally say dependency missing and what the name of the dependency is. But read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ungodly. But these guys, they're server devs. You know,
Well, I mean, and look, they try to start a server without having any idea what to do, so they go through and do it, and that's fine. Um, but you gotta figure stuff out on your own to an extent.
What
you gotta you
and
gotta figure
that's where
stuff.
I'm at. That's where I'm at. You know, I started in the 5M community as just doing texture or templates. You know, my whole thing was I can work Photoshop pretty decently, and you know, I started there on a different server, and you know, kind of got suckered into full deving a server and learning. You know, I hadn't, you know, most of my coding experience came from Farm Sim, and that was just a matter of texturing too, maybe changing some lines of code here and there to accept other fruit types in the game, but nothing serious. And now it's, I'm not sleeping for 2 weeks at a time,
Right.
getting servers, like not sleeping now. Our servers down right now because of a big issue. We updated ES Extended and it broke our current police jobs, and now we're having to update everything to get them all working.
Right. Well, the
That's
biggest
a good segue for sure.
the biggest issue is people not reading their errors. I mean, an error, when you've got a script that's erroring out, it's going to tell you exactly what file and what line to look at for that error. And when you go to that error, obviously that line's going to be part of a function or something, and you just gotta look at the whole section. Right, but you got to look at the whole section to see what that section is talking about, not just that line.
Absolutely. Yep. I totally agree with that. So,
but I'm like Rusty. I started out in 5M. I didn't have a clue. The only thing I knew, I had a basic knowledge of MySQL and a very basic knowledge of scripting from way back in like the early 90s when I used to run a Windows-based BBS. And you had to script all your own screens and stuff. So I had a clue, but not with Lua. I never knew Lua. But I took the time to figure it out.
Whoever this Lua guy is, me and him need to have a talk.
I know, right?
I think my biggest pet peeve is I think personally, it may very well be different, but I'm thinking a big percentage of the player base of this game is probably English speaking, whether they're from the UK, Australia, Canada, the US.
I think the French guys have it though. Like those guys seem to put out the best scripts. They
put out the best
full servers. I mean, they're kind of on top of stuff.
The worst part of all that is they put out the best work, but the bad part is when they're not translated.
Yeah. Well, and they don't translate them. They don't. And they won't. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I mean that brings us kind of to another point. Server owners, they got a lot of work to do. A lot of the people, especially if they're just there to do the role play and they don't want anything to do with the server side of things, they don't understand that one script could screw up everything and it could take down a server. We've got people in the communities that are just driving the developers nuts, asking for functionality, thinking that it can happen overnight. Something's not working right. They think it's just, 2-second fix. And sometimes it is. But, I mean, always people come and saying, oh, can you put this car in? Can you put this gun in? Can you put this piece of clothing in or whatever else? Can you create this business for me in ESX, right? That's happening all the time. And what they don't realize is there's way less devs than there are members in a community. And almost everybody has normal full-time jobs that they also have to do. So, I think a lot of it is especially people newer to the server or the people that aren't willing to contribute in any way. They need to take a step back and realize that this isn't everything,
Well, yeah, and the biggest problem comes down to being is a lot of smaller servers have 1 or 2 devs. We're not LARP or DOJ or we're No Pixel where they have a team.
You're not getting paid to do your dev work, is that what you're saying?
Wait, people get paid to do this? Oh, wow.
They do on DOJ and some of the other large ones.
Well,
sure.
DOJ gets paid, and that's why their IP now is blacklisted and it's direct connect only.
Right.
They don't realize that you might have a community of 200 people, but only 2 of those people are actually deving the server. Yeah, there's moderators. there's admins, but they're not the ones dealing with the code.
Right.
And when they request something, and if one person requests, if every person requests one thing, now you have 100 things
And
or
that's
200 things,
that's
and you
months
just
worth of
can't get
work.
to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, we're lucky enough that we have a, you know, we've stumbled, the server that I own stumbled upon a few people. A couple of them are in here and a couple of them are not, that, you know, are great people. They're you know, quality, and they don't mind helping out. So we've had a few people helping us through our little shenanigans, you know. But if we didn't have those couple people, we would be sitting here with a thumb up our butt.
Well, and I guess the other part of that too is what they don't realize is we like to test scripts before they go live, right? We like to put them into a test server, and that, you know, to kind of put them through their paces with the amount of time you actually get to mess around with them in the test server. I mean, you're looking at a couple weeks just in testing, just to make sure there's no issues with any other scripts or anything. You know,
Well, we've had that a few times now. We test for 3, 4, 5 days, works great on the test server. We move it onto the dev server or the live server, and it doesn't work because some reason, something in the database or something here or something there breaks it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not the same database, and so yeah, there could be something that's just a little off, something that didn't get deleted that's no longer used, and it definitely will cause an issue. So
something with a capital letter.
Yeah, camel case, you know, anything. It could be the slightest of typos in even another script, and it can throw everything off. So it's nuts. So what do you think about kind of the direction? I guess we'll, you know, change topics here, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot. But what do you think about the current direction of the 5M development, moving towards one sync, and stability and issues that they're having with that?
I think my biggest issue right now is the daily updates, because it changes so much. You know, we've seen a couple already daily updates that have not so much wrecked things, but changed things enough that it gives people a headache. Personally, one sync is what it is. I don't see me needing one sync anytime in the future. We're just, you know, we're just starting out. You know, we're not going to be at that 32-man full-time all the time kind of thing and needing a 64-man slot or a 256 or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I'll state of my server right now, I definitely won't be needing that.
And then I keep hearing that they're having issues, you know, that you're having to use an outside voice program to chat back and forth with people in your server. You know, if
And
that
they're using Mumble to counteract that.
Yeah, and if you're, and Mumble right now I hear is broken. You know, it wasn't working. You know, so
well, with the in 5M, yeah, it's not working.
Yes, within the 5M, you know, syncing the one sync Mumble works great. Otherwise, I've never used it, but I hear it works.
I think they should just integrate something like Arma 3's Task Force Radio. It's got 3D positioning for audio, and the ability to change channels fairly easily to talk to, you know, police department, fire department, whatever, if those people wanted to use it. But as far as the actual in-game voice, it'll still use the TeamSpeak 3D positioning, which is fantastic. So they know the GPS coordinates for each of the players. There realistically shouldn't be any issue with trying to position something like that with TeamSpeak, right?
Shouldn't be, but who knows?
Shouldn't be.
I guess TeamSpeak didn't win that bid. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, TeamSpeak wants to charge anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I mean, maybe they could get TeamSpeak to partner up with them, because then servers, they maybe would use, it would drive people to TeamSpeak. So why charge 5M for that, or vice versa, um, to have a good voice chat in game. I mean, the voice chat's always been terrible in 5M. Even in online, it's not great. So I do feel like they need to do something better with that. Josh Phelps from the chat, did you have a question? Go ahead and ask it, and we'll get to it. If you guys have any questions, that's fine.
It's going back to, I had to mute for a second, but going back to TeamSpeak, I don't think TeamSpeak, Mumble's a good option. It really is. For one, it's free. And people can host their own Mumble servers, but I don't think 5M is taking it seriously enough. They're too worried about getting 64 people in.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, I guess, with that. So I guess that's something to be seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see how that ends up playing out.
The other thing I'd like to see in 5M is more of a community atmosphere instead of a me atmosphere.
Yeah.
Well,
You can just look on the forums and people fix a script, and and how'd you fix that? I don't know. Or come play on my server.
Yeah, but at the same time, there'll be other people that fix a script and they push, a fix to GitHub, and the script owner just totally shoots down the pull request.
Or the script, the creator of the script doesn't even pay attention. They'll push the script out and never check back on the GitHub ever. There's great script work, could use a few minor tweaks, and someone pushed it and they haven't had any activity on it in a year or two, where it could be an amazing script if there's multiple different great script makers out there going, hey, you started the base. Here's this would make it cool again.
And that's why you're starting to see more developers pull their stuff private.
Yeah.
It's on the other hand with that too, like say, okay, 5M wants to do a big update. They need to get a hold of the major developers, like Faxes, because he puts out a ton of great little tiny things. They need to get a hold of the guys at ESX and say, okay, here's what we're planning on pushing out. Can you test this with your stuff and make sure it's going to work? Do we need to fix something? Or is it something you guys can work with and fix? But there's no real communications between developers and 5M developers either, which is why things like one of the latest ones was doing what it wrecked the ESX voice, where people are all of a sudden hearing everyone around the map globally, and they got to spam the keystrokes to. I don't use ESX voice, so I don't know how it works, but they're saying they got to keep spamming their keystrokes to change how far their voice goes.
Yeah.
And so there's no communication there. I mean, you would think with ESX they would, because if you look at the standard tags, ESX is double the amount of the person, of the person in second place.
Yeah.
Or the tag in second place.
I think the second place tags isn't even a framework.
No.
It's role play or something is the second place. I think the next framework in tags is VRP.
It's
7.
like fifth or it's like it's down the list a little ways. I mean, yeah, ESX is by far the number one tag by more than double.
VRP is still big enough that 5M should communicate with them too, and say, hey, here's a change we're going to make. Let's make sure it doesn't break any of your stuff, or if it does, is it something you guys can easily handle, or something you guys can tell us how to make sure it doesn't break your stuff?
Well, and realistically, all they have to do is invite those devs to the beta. Like, before they push out and I don't feel like there's that developer relations there, right? They're not releasing any servers code
Right.
until. And actually, I mean, is there even a public GitHub for the server code before they compile it? I don't
Yeah.
know that there is.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Oh, there is. Okay, I guess I hadn't found it, but
Yeah, there's source code for it, and you can take it and compile your own. But as often as they update, it's just useless to do that.
unless you're helping develop it, right? Unless they're really engaging these big community developers to test it before. Excuse me, to test it before they release it. You know, make sure
Yeah.
that the biggest scripts in the game work before you release an update.
Um, going over to the chat there, Josh. Uh, two of us are server owners, but we're separate server owners. We're not. We're not in the same server.
It used to be.
We're
Used to
just
be.
um we all dev. One of us is a coder, the other two are hackers. We'll let you figure out who's what. Um but
Yeah.
but and this is this is what should be happening in the 5M community. You know, like myself and Rusty are two separate server owners, and we get along. We help each other. You know, if I've got something he needs, he's got it. If he's got something I need, I've got it. And I'm friends like that with a couple other server owners too. And I wish the whole 5M community was like that.
Well, and that kind of brings it to another point too. Is realistically, there's just too many servers.
Oh, that's because you got the kids hosting their own servers at home, and
On
Which
their
I mean is
Walmart
fine
internet.
if you only want a server for your friends and all that, that's all well and good. But
make them
don't peg it
private.
as a don't peg it as a community, and be trying to take potential members from actual like highly developed servers. I mean, how many scripts do you have in your server, Rusty? I don't think I've ever seen a server with so many scripts.
220.
Mine used to be worse than that. Used to be.
And
Version
the
2
thing
is
is,
less, but
what the other thing they don't realize, by creating these other servers, they're using like a one core, one gig, virtual box somewhere.
yeah, on
Whereas,
Windows.
like Rusty here has a dedicated box that can actually host 220 scripts, has the resources for it, and a lot of these other kids, they don't realize that, and it does definitely causes an issue.
Even a VPS. I run on a VPS, but my VPS is got enough
Yeah,
resources in it that I'm running what, 4 servers.
well, and the other thing is, how to make sure that you're only running optimized scripts that are
Right. Yes.
that
I don't
have low
Yeah.
latencies, and
I
they're
don't
not
down
taking a ton of memory.
I don't download something that was uploaded 2 years ago and expect it to work perfect.
Well, and a lot of times, yeah, I mean, and just knowing, if you're new, you don't know, right, that what scripts are actual current generation scripts. And I almost feel like I almost feel like 5M should release some kind of check, right? So create actual version numbers for the server when they release it. As of right now, I think it's just, I think there might actually be version numbers, but it's not crazy. And then it's up to the script developers to test it against that version, right? And so they can say it'll work on this version forward, and then make sure it works on each version before
Well, yeah,
push
on
an
that
update
note
to go
right
to a new
there,
server. Yeah.
a friend of mine who's a dev.
Or have 5M, the server should actually do a check and make sure that the code works. Like if there's an error, then just disable that code and give the server admin a notice of some kind.
Yeah, a friend of ours that runs a server, been running the server for about 3 years now. Thought everything was hunky dory. We've been running on essential mode 3 or 4. Server was working great. He then decided to update to 5 when that came out, and literally you couldn't log into the server. The server was broken, and he has spent the last probably 6 months, because he's a single dev, the last 6 months slowly but surely trying to rebuild, because 80% of his scripts were all custom. So now he's having to rewrite these scripts to work with the new essential mode, and it came, and then look what happened. Essential mode 5 came out, and it wasn't a month maybe later.
I think to an extent there should be, I think these developers that have dependency scripts, right? So ESX and things like that. There needs to be some sort of backwards compatibility. They can't completely remove it, unless, I would say the only exception to that is if they do a major version release and they communicate it ahead of time. And there's going to be times like that. It's going to happen. But then, the problem with not having the backwards compatibility with 5M, releasing new natives all the time, things like that, and ESX in this particular case.
To be honest, there kind of is. I run the newest, ES extended, all the major ESX scripts, the shops, the police job, the vehicle shops, and all that. And I'm still running on an older essential mode, which is what ESX is built on. Mm-hmm. I run an older one because I have to have the ability to do archon commands, where the newer essential mode breaks it. Even though the developer says it doesn't, it does. So I'm still running essential mode 5, the last version 5 essential mode, just because I need that functionality. And ESX is running fine on it. The newest versions of ESX are running just fine on it.
Right. Well, and so I guess let's get back to Josh's question here, because I think we kind of beat that with a dead horse. So his question is, what kind of plans do you guys have for your server? I'm pretty sure that there's nothing in the roadmap for Rusty other than getting the thing back up at this point.
Yeah. Live, because we've been down now 2 days. We've been down close to, we're at 36 hours down. With 4 or 5 of us working on it, and I'm, Josh, I'm assuming you're over from, I think you probably grabbed a link from my Discord. You know these 2 other guys from that, but again, like we've said, they, one's a script, or one's a coder, and then me and the default Danny there, both own separate servers, but they're part of the Discord. So this, kind of to talk about that just a hair second, this show here is going to be multiple different people. This ain't just a show that us 3 are going to put on weekly or whatever. We'll probably be, prime hosts.
Yeah, so we're all going to be, the 3 of us are hosts of the show. Pretty much every show is going to have a main host that's going to kind of lead the discussion and stuff. We also have, I think 3 other hosts.
Voluntold for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of my idea to do the show, I guess. But in case I can't make it, we'll assign somebody else to lead the show that week. But yeah, so we have 6 total hosts, I think, right now, that are going to be joining when they can, and then we're gonna try to bring on some guests. Maybe we'll get somebody from 5M to come and join us. Maybe somebody from the ESX, the ESX team. Maybe some of the other big developers, car makers, modelers, map guys that do maps. We're going to try to do probably some tutorials at some point. So, I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we can do with this platform. Right now we're using Hangouts on Air. I think we might end up switching it up and trying to figure out a way to do the multi-stream and find out a way to do the cameras maybe a little bit better. We're just going to have to see how that ends up playing out. But we'll kind of figure that out.
A new server. Things happen and we just throw it to, it's like taking a handful of whatever and throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what
Absolutely.
we're kind of, you know, this is show number one. This is, you know, right at the ground floor here. But
Well, and if
to
we
talk
do,
about
if we do move away from the Hangouts, which I'm actually not really liking the Hangouts on air right now, but if we move away from that, I mean, we would have to create an enormous source collection within OBS, and it would have to be shared out to everybody. That way, if whatever host couldn't make it that day, we'd have to have a multi-stream server set up to where multiple people can stream into it, and then from there we can get the video outputs and put them into OBS. I mean, it's not going to be the simplest thing in the world to get that set up. So for the time being, we're going to do Hangouts on air, and as we kind of get closer, you're going to start seeing graphics. You're going to start seeing bottom thirds under our name or under our videos. Just better quality overall. So
we could also do Skype. You know, that might be, you know,
yeah,
the host would,
I thought Hangouts on air kind of made everybody's video about the same size, and maybe,
Well,
but
it
apparently
doesn't help.
doesn't.
Like, apparently, like, we would probably have to set up the same settings as far as webcams. I don't even have a webcam. I'm showing a picture on a screen, but
well, and that's all right because, you know,
and
no.
what's I know, yeah, you've seen me, you know, um, but I mean, I've never used Hangouts before, but what I like about this is the fact that I can share a screen, so I can switch to a screen that's got some code on it and show somebody, you know, and then switch back to another screen to show something else. And
Yeah, and we're
you
gonna
know,
have to take a look into it too. And
I
because
kind of
with
I
OBS
kind of
we'll be
like
able to do
this.
that too. With OBS we'll be able to do that too. I think, and honestly, we can use OBS on our videos um, to add some flair, even to this, you know, just kind of plain video image. But we can add some flair to this with OBS and use like OBS camera to put some additional stuff up on the screen, or switch over to um, a screen share or something as well. But I think, you know, I think eventually we want to switch to a multi-stream setup where everybody streams into our own multi-stream server, and then those video sources can go anywhere, especially if we have a public domain that, tied to that. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a nice option, and we'll have, of course, you know, JSON tokens and stuff like that to keep it secured and all that good stuff. So
We'll figure it out. Definitely. But yeah, but you know, server to go back again because we keep jumping over Josh. But yeah, I know personally I'm on mine, and you know, right there's, you know, another the other my other half is in here, Mr. Zephyrus. He's in chat.
oh,
But
Ziff he can still jump in and
I think he's
join the call.
I think he might be out busy. He got voluntold into something, so I think he had
Voluntold.
voluntold. Come on now.
He must be married.
I do that to my
No,
kids.
no,
I
no.
tell them to do stuff all the time.
See, he's going on a trip, and I think he's sucking up and, you know, trying to get some extra credit with his family members, you know.
Oh, okay.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
no, definitely not. But our server, you know, this guy's, you know, my servers and his, you know, the server I dev on, we'll say, sky's the limit right now. It all depends on ability and what's available out there. We're not coders. We can edit code, we can make things work, we can kind of talk things, but we don't write scripts from scratch.
Right.
Now we've been lucky enough to meet some people, you know, one of them's there hanging out in a blue shirt, you know, that make cool scripts from scratch, and we've been, you know, honored to be able to use them on our server. So that's where our custom scripts come from. But when it comes down to it, you know, we're putting on the server what's available to the community. So yes, in a way, there's going to be, you know, repetitiveness when you go to a different server and come to our server. Our difference is how we run the community, how we have a community atmosphere, how we moderate and admin the server, and do things like that. That's, you know, we're not, you know,
Well, and
we're trying to set up a
you
community.
you guys do, well, you both do very good with your community, not just taking, you know, you'll take a default ESX script and you'll tweak it to make it your own. You'll tweak it and make it custom for your server. You use custom scripts. I know you use one because you use one that I'd helped develop. You know, and that's really kind of a cool thing, to kind of be able to offer that in addition to the community atmosphere. But the other thing, I guess, to tie into that is, how often do you actually even get to go into your server and role play? I mean, you're tied up developing probably more of your free time than you actually get to go in and play. I know Chip will take a break and hit into a server, but
You mean default Danny?
oh yeah, default Danny. My bad.
Default Danny.
Not that it
Oh, there was
doesn't say
that.
his name. Not that it doesn't say his name on there anyway.
Kayfabe.
Guess the cat's out of the bag now.
Yep, you're done. Oh, well, yeah, and you know, in the past probably week, I've, you know, had one day. I think for a couple hours, and yes, we just like, I don't know why he hasn't changed his name on his Google account, but like Jake said there, who is AKA Zipherus, AKA Thomas, whatever the heck his name is on the server, said that we take, you know, every suggestion 100%. We take time, and people put up suggestions, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. Hey, is this plausible? Is it something we want to do now? That's why we just opened up today. You know, if you're part of our the Discord, you can see that we just posted a link for a public Trello that's going to have a timeline, and when people put suggestions up, we're going to put them on the suggestion side of that, and they'll get moved through the tiers. And that's, you know, I don't know how many servers do that. You know, there might be a handful, but we want to make sure that the community is informed of what's going on with the server, not just get on and find something new, or get on and find out it never happened, or just, you know, get the cold shoulder. We want to be able to give the community, they're the ones playing on the server, they're the ones that are interacting every single day with these things. You know, like you said, devs don't get, you know, I'd say probably 30% of the time I'm on my computer might be actually RPing on the server. And if I'm on the server, it's probably jumping around, you know, listening to people whine about things, or, you know, taking suggestions, or dealing with children.
Well, and as a server owner, yeah, it's you. I think there was times, you know, like there was a week where I think I ended up getting to RP for like an hour after like 40 hours worth of work on the server, between dev work, dealing with drama, things like that. So
that's kind of why I'm a member in another community that I won't mention, but just as an escape, you know, somewhere where I can go where no one's going to say, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? Hey, this is wrong. Hey, that's wrong. But I noticed Josh put up another question there.
Yeah, I've got a good answer for that one. So,
and I'll let you answer him after I do, because I'm a nice guy. He says his question is, you know, speaking of community aspect, how worried are we in keeping our community, and how much do we care when and if people leave? And it depends on the person. To be brutally honest, if it's someone that's just constantly trying to play GTA Online and you know, not following rules that are set, or constantly whining about this and that, I tend to not care if they leave. But I've also had people leave that to this day I would love to get back. So
yeah, so I think you know, my answer is probably very similar to that, and I'm sure Rusty can kind of echo that too. But what I would say is, the people that want to actually build up the community, not tear it down. So you know, if it's a cancer, I don't mind seeing a cancer go. If they're causing everybody else to be miserable, go ahead. Like if you're gonna, I see this in a lot of communities. You see the same person complaining all the time. If you don't want to be there or you don't like it, then go. Like, you're not going to break my heart, if you do it. But we do truly care about losing good members of the community that just want to get in there and role play, or even want to contribute more, want to move up in ranks if you have a ranked server, things like that. And I think that's really, maybe we don't express it enough that we actually do care, but all the dev time we put in, all the administrative time that we put in, and the little bit that we do actually get to RP isn't for just us. That all that dev work and the administration trying to make sure everything is running smoothly is for the whole community as a whole.
Right.
We don't like beating our head against the wall for no reason. And
right. If there wasn't people on the servers, there'd be no point in doing what we do.
Right.
It comes down to being that, yes.
That's why we no longer have a server. That's why we shut it down, right? Because it got to the point where nobody cared, and so why should we? We would try to, our numbers dropped. People were trying to go to these big servers where they think they're going to get name recognition and become famous or whatever the case may be. And, even if you got accepted into, let's say, a DOJ or maybe even an OCRP, the likelihood that you'll get on their main server, the one that you see online, is pretty slim. They often have multiple servers.
But I will say that about the very first community I was ever in was DOJ, and that's the way they are. But from what I know and have seen with OCRP, they're the complete opposite.
No, I was using an example that they do have multiple servers, and you do have to start out on their second server.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Oh, you don't with them?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought you did.
Okay. Then I guess just straight up full admission, that's the other community that I'm in, is OCRP. And I went in, there's a guy in my server right now that I'm sitting in, and he's joking about you vaping.
Very nice.
He says he's ripping some fat vapes.
hey, you watch on that talking about that vape.
Which one's he talking about? Me or Rusty?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably Rusty. His is
anyway,
higher.
OCRP isn't they are the anti-DOJ in my opinion, and so yeah.
Well,
I had
and I actually really like the guys over at OCRP. They were probably some of my favorites from the previous community they were in, and I have a lot of respect for them. I would actually love to have even them come on the show and talk about what they think about what's happening with the community and stuff too. So here's a shout out.
Oh, I'll
feel free to come in and be a guest on the show as we get better and get more followers and stuff like that.
I think we're doing pretty well now with 12 people watching. First show, 12 watching, 5 likes.
First show, absolutely.
Make sure to slap that like button there and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. Ring the bell.
Yeah,
and definitely share this back out with any communities you're in. There's not a live talk show like this for 5M, and 5M is a monster community. They've had record-breaking users on their servers. A couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Well, I think almost every week they're hitting high numbers.
So yeah, and if you guys have suggestions, things like that, I'm gonna on the Discord. We're gonna put a show suggestions chat in there. In the meantime, feel free to continue any conversation we have over there. All the hosts are in there, and they're going to be watching that and definitely answering questions and talking to you guys there as well. These guys are in Discord all the time, and it's just easy for them to pop over when they see that little white dot. So I think we're going to be pretty active there, and you guys are more than welcome to join us in that Discord.
I actually just posted in CRP about this to see what happens there.
Is there any more questions from the peanut gallery, the audience? Audience, the peanut gallery,
the A gallery.
Oh, questions are going to definitely be a thing where, we definitely take questions,
So
any questions
yeah,
you have.
there's a topic on here that maybe we could just touch on quick. I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to cause any drama or anything, but I would definitely like to hear what you guys think of some blacklists that have happened without any specifics,
No,
and
no, I'll be specific.
without it, so some blacklists that have happened. Let's stay away from super current events, but and some of the reasons that maybe people do get blacklisted, servers or players. So I know Chip, you got a personal experience.
There
I'm
he
guessing
goes
that's what you were going to share.
Yeah. He goes again. His name default Danny man. I'm just all right, Chip.
It says it right on the screen.
Does it really?
Yeah,
Oh well.
at the bottom there.
Actually, that's not seen out on the broadcast.
Yeah, it doesn't come out on the broadcast.
Only if he had a camera would it pop up. So when he talks, one of our cameras are up.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, we just outed him. We outed default Danny.
Oh well, I'm sorry. So we just can't talk bad about anybody directly, I guess.
I'm not going to talk bad about anybody.
No, of course not. Like so we want to run this show like we run our communities, right? We want to build up the community as a whole. We want to bring in different perspectives, just get some different opinions on things that are happening in the community. And blacklisting is part of it. It's not a fun topic, and that's the topic we'll end on for the day. But and if there's any other questions, we might try to grab something in the meantime. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and hear what you got, Chip.
All right. My issue, and it's not an issue, to be honest, with most of the 5M development team. It's with their terms of service. Like they're very specific about how, as a 5M server owner, you're not allowed to make money off of your server. If you create something specifically for 5M, you're not allowed to make money off it. You have to provide it you don't have to provide it to the public, but if you do, you also have to provide source code so people can edit, what they like, which is fine and dandy. What I've done is I purchased cars from a modeler who doesn't model specifically for 5M. He doesn't provide his models specifically they're not already set up. I have to do all that work myself. I have to
So
create
he makes them for Forza and everything else.
Yeah, I have to create my own meta files. I can't, he doesn't provide them. And which is, a no-brainer. Because I can name another modeler that I bought from that does set them up directly for 5M. I'm not going to say names, but
Billy Bob.
And that's damn close too. But it's, I got into an argument with the 5M developers about it because they're trying to tell me that their terms of service prohibits me from purchasing things when it specifically does not prohibit me from purchasing things to use in my server. And they're also saying that anything I have in my server, I have to share. Well, no, I don't.
No,
if I choose
custom
to share
scripts that you use on your own and you don't share out with anybody.
Right.
Absolutely.
If I choose to share, yes, there's a doctrine or part of the terms of service says that I must also provide source code so people can edit to their liking, which is fine. But and so that was the big argument. And to be brutally honest, I dared them to blacklist me. And 5 minutes later, I've got my community members saying, "Hey, we can't get in the server." But
well, I guess you kind of deserve that one then.
I sort of did, and
it's about the way you approach it. So
it's back up, and one of the head 5M guys knows that I have it back up, and he told me just keep my nose clean, and he won't say nothing, which is fine. But it's that they they're very set in their ways, and even though they didn't word their terms of service correctly, they're they had a thought in mind when they were putting it together, and it doesn't matter how many lawyers you take to read it, they're gonna interpret it their own way. So
Yeah, and I mean, I know that there's some stuff out there. There's a couple things that drive me nuts about it, right? So if you develop a script and release it to the public, you have to provide source code, right? You develop a car model and you release it to the public for free. You do not have to leave the model unlocked.
right, that's the other thing.
Or even give a template.
Or even give a
That's
skinning template.
that's my pet peeve right there. You know, as coming from
but
starting with car models.
That's the other thing. They're not saying nothing about going to GTA 5 or LSPDFR, downloading a model that's locked. That you absolutely cannot share. You can't give it to someone and allow them to edit it. They're fine with that, but if I purchase a vehicle that I can't share, then they have an issue with it.
Right.
And it's
so, and I guess the other thing I have a problem with too is there's a little bit of hypocrite. I guess hypocritic. There's a little bit of sometimes hypocritical. Yeah, there we go. I think there's a little. There's sometimes
hypocrisy.
A little,
that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah,
hypocrisy
is the word I was looking for. Yes, and the reason is they they do have a Patreon where they collect money for the development of 5M, which is in violation really of their own terms of service.
Right, because in order to use a streaming EUP, you must pay them.
Yeah,
you must.
Well,
and to be considered for one sync currently, you have to pay them.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're a developer and you are running a gambit of apps or scripts to be added in, if you offer, maybe they say, okay, you need to offer one free script for every script that you offer that you'll only give out paid on like a Patreon or something like that. But it's almost tough to even say, throw me some donations or something like that. Your Patreon members want stuff that your normal people don't get. So holding back, kind of a custom script, not anything that's going to be, like the one that we made for your server, Rusty. So it's a custom script. It's a private script. It's designed only to work with a couple people's servers, but it's a key fob remote that pops up on the screen on your screen, and you can click the buttons to unlock your car and stuff like that. That's a custom one-off script. It's not going to be released to the public, so don't even ask. But yeah, it's only,
and even if you get your hands on it, it most likely ain't gonna work with your server anyways, because we've had to modify things, and it's literally set up in the code to work with what we have,
with a couple of servers.
Yeah, in theory, even if someone did get it publicly, it would be a lot of work for them to get it to work because it has dependencies, and the dependencies are, one of the dependencies is completely 100% custom coded to how we have our jobs. It just, you may be able to do a couple little of the functions, but you're not going to be able to fully function it. And it's not, it's not that we're keeping it from people. It's just, it was.
And then here's the other thing I have, right? So we have a lot of new server owners that don't know how to set up their own codes, or they need something custom, don't know how to code it. And what can they do? And us as developers trying to work on some of our own stuff, we all have our own agendas on what we want to do. For somebody to come and say, hey, can you make this? It doesn't benefit me to say yes. And now, and unless I could sell it to them, because then it's potentially worth my time, and then I can sell it to others maybe as well, unless they want the exclusive rights to it. I just feel like just saying you cannot make money off of it is wrong. I think they need to I think they need to, now I see the flip side of that is every developer is going to throw some price tag on a script. And I think that's wrong too. I think you need to develop to benefit the community, but I think there are some scripts, if you're writing a script that's 30,000 lines of code, I mean, you should be able to charge for that. That's 30,000 lines of code. I mean, that's a crazy amount of coding, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some scripts. I'm sure. What's his name? The guy that did vMenu. Tom is his first name,
Tom.
but
Yeah.
I can't remember his online name. Anyway, can you imagine the amount of time that he has dumped into vMenu? I mean, that's absolutely insane. And the fact that he can't even charge for bonus features or anything in that code is
Right.
nuts. Not saying he would
I
want
agree.
to. I'm just
I
saying
agree.
the fact that
he should be able to say, hey,
yeah, I mean, there's people in there asking for features and stuff all the time, and it would be nothing for him to maybe create an add-on module that's specific to their server, or that he could sell them as an add-on module to vMenu to allow them to do what they want to do and still keep the core vMenu the same, right? So he could just sell add-ons to vMenu, and because he's custom tailoring these to the other people's servers and their needs, there should be no reason that he can't charge a little bit for that service, right? And realistically, at this point, you're not charging for the script itself. You're charging for time. That's it.
It's labor.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not like, I'll offer the scripts up, I'll offer you a script for free, but you got to pay me for my time. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you have to invoice it. Maybe you have to invoice it as time, not for the actual. And then on the invoice, you put script. $0, time, this amount of money. I don't know. There's got to be I feel like there needs to be some flexibility or an approval process or something, just to say that you're not community out of developers, but at the same time, like you gotta be able to recoup, something for your time. And not on everything, but on some stuff. Like I would have never charged for that key fob thing. Just that, like, we're not going to release it publicly either, but I think that's part of the problem too, and then you release these free scripts, and so what do? Do you release a script and then say, okay, but if you pay this amount of money, you get a service, you get support with it? Or I guess I don't know what to say to that, but I guess that would be my only other suggestion would be that they need to rethink how the wording on the terms of service when it comes to people spending their time to get paid. Is
and they do need to rethink the fact of their terms of service on how people donate to a server and they like a server and they want to see it continue, and their community donates and gives them money, and now they're blacklisting servers. What was it? DOJ got blacklisted because they took in too much money or something, and or some servers got blacklisted because they were taking too much donations. And if the people enjoy the community, then they pay. They show their appreciation with monetary thing. If that's so much, if that goes over what the normal cost is, so be it. It is what it is. We live in a capitalist world. People make money, and most good people, honest people would be throwing that back into their server. Maybe it's, oh, we've gotten a lot of extra money we can afford for the next 6 months if we beef up our VPS, and do this, or maybe open a second,
well, and that's just it too. So you can incur costs, but you can't get money back to pay for those costs. And there's a loose thing in there. Well, there's a loose thing in the terms of service there.
Yep.
But how do you prove it?
You're allowed to accept enough donations to cover your costs.
But what if you accept more by accident? Like people just donate more.
Well, yeah, and I do believe it. I do believe the actual thing is you can accept donations
up to your costs
for 3 months. I think you can have 3 months of running costs technically on hand. After 3 months, you're supposed to shut off the ability to donate, but then, you open it back up the next month. Say someone drops, I don't know many servers out there that'll have a few $1,000s a month, overhead, but let's just say you open up servers and you get some, Saudi prince that plays on your server and he likes you and he drops you $5,000. What do? Do you refund the money and say, sorry, you have to donate it to me in $100 increments over the next 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it, but it looks like that's our show. We've been on an hour, and so thank you to Rusty and Chip, and I'm JustWeb.
Default Danny.
If you definitely join us again in the Discord, I just posted another link in the chat. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends as well. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.